Commander Vex High stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small blue planet spin slowly below his fleet. The intelligence reports lay scattered across his command table like broken promises of an easy victory. 200 ships of the Zephyrian Empire hung in space around Earth waiting for his orders to begin what should be the simplest conquest in galactic history. The humans below had no idea what was coming for them. Vex High had reviewed their primitive technology and laughed at their chemical rockets that could barely reach their own moon. Their weapons still used explosive powders and metal projectiles like something from the dark ages of civilization. Most amusing of all was how they fought endless wars among themselves over patches of dirt and lines drawn on maps. "Sir, the final scans are complete," reported his intelligence officer Zekthal. "The dominant species shows no unified government and maintains over 200 separate political divisions. Their military technology is approximately 4,000 years behind our own standards. They have no energy shields, no plasma weapons, and no faster-than-light capability." Vex High nodded with satisfaction. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered 300 worlds in the past millennium, and Earth would be just another addition to their ever-growing territory. The High Command had assigned this invasion to him as a training exercise for his younger officers. It was meant to be so simple that even a fresh academy graduate could handle it without breaking a sweat. "What about their population size?" Vex High asked while studying the blue and green world below. "Approximately 8 billion individuals scattered across 7 major landmasses," Zekthal replied, reading from his scanner. "The intelligence reports mention some unusual behavioral patterns, but nothing that should concern a proper military force." Vex High barely glanced at those sections of the report. Every primitive species had unusual behavioral patterns when viewed. From a civilized perspective, the important facts were simple. Humans had weak technology, divided governments, and no experience fighting a unified galactic power. This invasion would be over before the next rotation cycle. On Earth, Admiral Kane Roberts sat in the command center of the North American defense grid watching the alien fleet with growing concern. The massive ships had appeared 3 days ago, during what the media was calling the greatest moment in human history. First contact with an alien civilization should have been a celebration, but these visitors had not come to shake hands and exchange gifts. General Lisa Murphy entered the command center carrying a stack of reports from defense installations around the globe. Her face showed the strain of 3 sleepless nights spent preparing for what everyone knew was coming. "Kane, we need to talk about the response protocols," she said, setting the reports on his desk. Dr. Alex Turner from the Defense Research Division looked up from his analysis of the alien ships. He had been studying every detail visible through their most powerful telescopes, trying to understand the technology they were facing. "Their energy signatures are unlike anything in our database," he reported. "The power output from just one of those ships exceeds our entire global electrical grid." Captain Sam Rodriguez joined them carrying communication equipment that had been modified to attempt contact with the alien fleet. "Sir, we have been sending standard first contact protocols for the past 48 hours, he said. They finally responded with a single transmission. The message played through the command center speakers in perfect English, though the voice carried an odd harmonic quality that made it sound artificial. "Primitive species of the third planet," it began. "You have been selected for integration into the Zephyrian Empire. Surrender your military forces and governments within 72 hours or face complete destruction. This is your only warning." Roberts looked around at his team and saw the same determination in their eyes that had carried humanity through every crisis in their history. "Dr. Turner, how long do we need to analyze their technology?" he asked. "Give me whatever time you can." "Bye," Turner replied. Every minute of observation could provide crucial data about their capabilities and potential weaknesses. Murphy was already on the phone with defense coordinators around the world. "All global military forces are mobilizing," she reported. "The president is calling an emergency session with world leaders in 2 hours." Captain Rodriguez was monitoring communications from the alien fleet. "Sir, they seem to be waiting for our response," he said. "Their ships are holding position, but showing no immediate hostile actions." On the Zephyrian flagship, Vex High was growing impatient with the primitive planet's delayed response. Most species surrendered immediately upon seeing the size and power of an imperial fleet. The few that chose to resist were usually conquered within a single-day cycle. Earth's silence was becoming annoying. "Sir, we are receiving multiple transmissions from the planet's surface," reported the communications officer. "The messages appear to be attempts at establishing dialogue." "Ignore them," Vexhai ordered. "We gave them the standard surrender terms. They either comply or face the consequences. Prepare a demonstration of our power to encourage their cooperation." The target he selected was a small space station orbiting Earth. Intelligence reports identified it as the International Space Station, where humans conducted primitive scientific experiments. A single pulse from his flagship's main weapon would vaporize it completely and show the humans exactly what they were facing. The beam lanced out from the Zephyrian ship and struck the space station. The structure disappeared in a flash of superheated gas and scattered debris. It was a perfect demonstration of Imperial power, and should have ended any thoughts of resistance from the primitives below. Instead, something unexpected happened. Every major government on Earth simultaneously declared a state of total war. Military forces that had been enemies just days before began coordinating their efforts. Industrial facilities started converting to weapons production. Research centers shared their most classified technologies. The planet that had been divided by countless conflicts suddenly unified against the common threat hanging over their heads. Vexhai stared at his displays in confusion. This was not how conquests were supposed to proceed. Primitive species were supposed to surrender when faced with overwhelming force. They were not supposed to mobilize their entire civilization for war against a superior enemy. The intelligence reports had mentioned unusual human persistence, but he had dismissed it as irrelevant primitive stubbornness. "Sir, we are detecting massive increases in electromagnetic activity across all inhabited landmasses," reported Zekthal. "Their communication networks are operating at maximum capacity, and we are observing rapid mobilization of their military assets." For the first time since arriving at Earth, Vexhai felt a small, uncomfortable feeling in his stomach. Maybe the humans would require slightly more effort to conquer than he had originally planned. But surely no primitive species could pose a real threat to the mighty Zephyrian Empire. This was probably just their way of making a final desperate gesture before the inevitable surrender. He was about to learn exactly how wrong assumptions could be when dealing with humans. The first Zephyrian landing ships descended toward Earth like falling stars against the morning sky. Commander Vexhai had chosen to begin his ground assault on the major population centers, expecting swift surrender once the humans saw his soldiers in action. New York City was his primary target because intelligence reports identified it as a major center of human commerce and government. Lieutenant Chris Johnson crouched behind an overturned police car in Times Square, watching the alien ships land with mechanical precision. His Marine unit of 30 soldiers was supposed to be conducting an evacuation, but Johnson had different plans. The civilians were already gone through subway tunnels and emergency routes. Now it was time to show these aliens what humans did when someone tried to take their home. The Zephyrian ground forces emerged from their landing ships wearing powered armor that gleamed like silver in the sunlight. Their energy weapons hummed with deadly power, and their movements showed the confidence of soldiers who had never faced serious resistance. Each alien soldier was equipped with technology that could have won World War III single-handedly. Johnson spoke into his radio to the scattered Marine units across the city. "Remember the plan," he said. "We are not trying to win today. We are trying to learn everything we can about how they fight. Every observation could save thousands of lives tomorrow." The first engagement lasted exactly 90 seconds. The Zephyrian energy weapons cut through human cover like paper, and their armor deflected every bullet the Marines could fire at them. Johnson's unit was forced to retreat through the subway system, leaving behind 3 dead and 7 wounded. By any measure, it was a complete defeat, but Johnson and his Marines had accomplished their real mission. They had observed the alien weapons in action, recorded the energy signatures, tested different ammunition types against alien armor, and documented weak points in their equipment. The aliens might have won the battle, but the humans had gathered intelligence that would prove invaluable. Commander Vexhai received reports from all landing sites within the first day. His forces had achieved total tactical victory in every engagement. Human resistance had crumbled within minutes of contact, and his soldiers now controlled the major urban centers across Earth. By all normal standards, the conquest was essentially complete. What troubled him were the details in those reports. Human soldiers had fought with desperate fury even when facing impossible odds. They had deliberately sacrificed themselves to gather information about Zephyrian weapons and tactics. Most disturbing of all, they had shown an alarming ability to adapt their strategies based on what they learned from each defeat. Sir the Human. Resistance patterns are unlike anything in our combat databases, reported Major Kelvoth, who commanded the ground forces. They appear to be treating each engagement as a learning opportunity rather than attempting to achieve victory. Their tactical modifications between battles show rapid adaptation to our capabilities. Vexhai studied the battlefield recordings with growing unease. The humans were supposed to be primitive and emotional. They were supposed to break under the pressure of fighting a superior enemy. Instead, they seemed to be getting more organized and dangerous with each passing hour. In a hidden bunker beneath the ruins of Detroit, Dr. Kate Williams worked frantically with fragments of alien technology recovered from the first battles. The pieces were small and mostly damaged, but they represented humanity's first chance to understand the science behind Zephyrian weapons. Her team of engineers and physicists had been working without sleep since the invasion began. The energy matrix is based on crystalline structures we have never seen before, she reported to her research team. But the fundamental principles are not beyond our understanding. These weapons create coherent energy beams by manipulating quantum field fluctuations in ways we theorized but never attempted. Jake Martinez was a car mechanic before the invasion started. Now he found himself working alongside PhD scientists, trying to reverse engineer alien technology using nothing but salvaged parts and human ingenuity. His practical knowledge of how things worked proved surprisingly useful when dealing with alien engineering. This power cell uses the same basic concept as our lithium batteries, he said, holding up a glowing crystal fragment. The storage method is different, but the energy conversion process has similarities to what we already know. Maybe we can build our own version using human manufacturing techniques. The breakthrough came after 72 hours of continuous work. Dr. Williams managed to identify the specific frequency that Zephyrian energy shields used to deflect incoming attacks. The discovery was immediately transmitted to every resistance cell and military unit still fighting across the globe. Lieutenant Johnson received the transmission while his depleted unit prepared for another hit-and-run attack against alien patrols. The information was simple but potentially revolutionary. Human weapons could penetrate alien defenses if they were modified to operate at a specific electromagnetic frequency. The second battle for Times Square began at dawn on the fourth day of invasion. Johnson's Marines had spent the night modifying their weapons using instructions developed by Dr. Williams and her team. The results were dramatic and immediate. Human bullets began penetrating Zephyrian armor for the first time since the invasion started. The aliens were caught completely off guard by the sudden effectiveness of human weapons. Their confidence shattered as soldiers who had seemed invulnerable just days before began falling to primitive projectile weapons. The psychological impact was devastating to forces that had expected an easy victory against helpless primitives. Commander Vexhai watched the battle reports with mounting alarm. Human forces were not only fighting more effectively, but they were sharing their discoveries instantaneously across their entire resistance network. What started as isolated improvements in one location quickly spread to every battlefield on the planet. Sir, we are receiving casualty reports from all ground units, reported Major Kelvoth. Human weapon effectiveness has increased by over 300% in the past day. They appear to have discovered a vulnerability in our personal armor systems. The most disturbing development was how quickly humans adapted their entire military doctrine to exploit alien weaknesses. Traditional human warfare had relied on massive firepower and direct confrontation. Now, they were fighting like ghosts, disappearing into their city's infrastructure and striking from unexpected directions. Maria Santos had been a factory supervisor before the invasion. Now she led a resistance cell of 60 civilians who had turned the New York subway system into a fortress. They moved through tunnels the aliens had never mapped, launching surprise attacks before melting away into passages too small for Zephyrian soldiers to follow. They control the surface, but we own everything below ground, she told her team while planning their next operation. These aliens are used to fighting in open battlefields. They do not understand urban warfare the way we do. The resistance fighters had learned to use the city itself as a weapon. Sewer systems became supply routes, abandoned buildings became sniper nests. Steam tunnels became highways for moving troops and equipment without detection. The aliens found themselves controlling empty streets while the real fight happened in the spaces between the spaces. By the end of the first week, Commander Vexahai faced a situation no Zephyrian commander had encountered in centuries. His forces controlled the major strategic points, but faced constant attacks from an enemy that grew stronger with each engagement. Human weapons were becoming more effective every day, and their tactics were evolving faster than his troops could adapt. The conquest that should have taken hours was stretching into weeks. The primitive planet that should have surrendered immediately was mounting organized resistance, using their own technology against them. Worst of all, the humans seemed to be enjoying the challenge of fighting an impossible enemy. Vex-High began to suspect that choosing Earth as a target might have been the first in a series of very serious mistakes. 3 months had passed since the Zephyrian invasion began, and Commander Vex-High was discovering that controlling a human city was like trying to hold water in his hands. His forces occupied the major buildings and streets, but the real life of these places had moved underground into a maze of tunnels, sewers, and hidden spaces that seemed to stretch forever beneath every urban center. The humans had not surrendered or broken under the pressure of occupation. Instead, they had adapted their entire civilization to function as a resistance network. Schools had become weapons factories. Hospitals had become command centers. Churches had become supply depots. Every human institution had transformed itself to support the war effort in ways that baffled the alien invaders. Dr. Alex Turner worked in a laboratory hidden 3 stories below what used to be the New York Public Library. His team had grown from a dozen scientists to over 200 researchers, including experts recruited from universities and corporations around the world. They had spent the past 3 months studying every piece of alien technology they could capture or salvage from battlefields. The breakthrough that changed everything came from an unexpected source. A damaged Zephyrian energy rifle had been recovered from Times Square after Lieutenant Johnson's unit ambushed an alien patrol. The weapon was mostly destroyed, but its power core remained intact and functional. The energy storage system is elegant, but inefficient, Turner explained to his research team. The aliens have advanced technology, but they have not optimized it for mass production. Their manufacturing methods prioritize individual unit performance over cost effectiveness. Jake Martinez had become the unofficial leader of what the scientists called the Practical Engineering Group. His team consisted of mechanics, electricians, welders, and other workers who knew how to build things with their hands. They took the theoretical discoveries made by the researchers and figured out how to manufacture them using human industrial methods. We can build these energy rifles using modified automobile assembly lines, Martinez reported. The alien version takes weeks to manufacture using their precision methods. Our version can be mass-produced in hours using techniques we already understand. The first human energy weapons rolled off production lines hidden in abandoned factories across the industrial Midwest. They were crude compared to Zephyrian originals, but they worked and humans could build thousands of them using materials salvaged from junkyards and electronics stores. More importantly, they were designed for human hands and human tactics rather than alien preferences. Maria Santos received her unit's first energy weapons during a supply drop in the Manhattan subway tunnels. The weapons felt strange in human hands, but they fired beams of coherent light that could punch through alien armor like paper. More significantly, they gave her resistance fighters the ability to damage Zephyrian vehicles and equipment for the first time since the invasion started. "Tonight we take back Grand Central Station," she told her team while distributing the new weapons. "The aliens have been using it as a supply depot for the past month. Time to remind them that this is still our city." The attack began at midnight, when Santos led 40 resistance fighters through maintenance tunnels that connected to the station's lower levels. The aliens had posted guards at the main entrances, but they had no idea that humans could approach from directions that did not appear on any official building plans. The battle was swift and decisive. Human energy weapons caught the Zephyrian guards completely by surprise, and the alien soldiers had no time to organize an effective defense. Within 20 minutes, the resistance fighters had captured the entire supply depot, along with enough alien equipment to arm 3 more resistance cells. More importantly, they had demonstrated that human forces could now defeat Zephyrian troops. in direct combat using technology that humans had built themselves. The psychological impact spread through the resistance network faster than any official communication. If Maria Santos could take back Grand Central Station, then humans could take back their entire planet. Captain Sam Rodriguez had spent 3 months converting civilian aircraft factories into military production facilities. His aerospace engineering background made him the natural choice to lead the development of human aircraft capable of challenging alien air superiority. The results exceeded everyone's expectations. Working with tech entrepreneur Ben Foster Rodriguez had developed what they called the Swarm Protocol. Instead of trying to build aircraft that could match Zephyrian fighters one-on-one, they focused on producing thousands of small drones that could overwhelm alien defenses through sheer numbers. The aliens think like military strategists, Rodriguez explained to his production team. They design expensive high-performance weapons that are difficult to replace. We are going to drown them in cheap expendable drones that we can build faster than they can shoot them down. The drones were built using commercial electronics and powered by miniaturized versions of alien energy cells. Each one carried Dr. Williams's frequency disruptor weapons designed specifically to interfere with Zephyrian energy shields. Individually, they were no match for alien technology, but in groups of thousands, they became a force that could challenge even the largest Zephyrian warships. The first test of Operation Swarm came when the alien command ship moved into low orbit above Los Angeles. The massive vessel was designed to coordinate ground operations, and its destruction would severely damage Zephyrian command capabilities across the entire North American continent. Rodriguez launched his drone swarm from hidden facilities scattered across California. 5,000 small aircraft rose into the sky and formed into attack formations that confused and overwhelmed alien sensor systems. The Zephyrians had never faced an enemy that attacked using disposable weapons controlled by distributed intelligence networks. The battle lasted 6 hours and ended with the alien command ship retreating to higher orbit with severe damage to its hull and control systems. More significantly, the engagement proved that human technology had reached the point where it could threaten major Zephyrian military assets. The invasion force was no longer fighting helpless primitives armed with chemical weapons. Commander Vexhai reviewed the battle reports from Los Angeles with growing dread. His forces had superior individual weapons and better armor, but the humans were neutralizing those advantages through tactics and strategies that no Zephyrian military academy had ever taught. Worse yet, they were doing it using technology that they had learned to build in just 3 months. The most disturbing aspect was how quickly human capabilities were advancing. Every week brought new weapons, new tactics, and new demonstrations that the primitive species was becoming more dangerous rather than less so. The conquest that should have been over in days was turning into a prolonged war against an enemy that learned faster than his troops could adapt. "Sir, we have lost operational control of the major urban centers," reported Major Kelvoth during the weekly strategy meeting. "Our forces control key installations, but human resistance fighters move freely through areas we thought were secured. They are using infrastructure systems and hidden passages that do not appear in any of our intelligence data. The aliens had made a fundamental error in their understanding of human civilization. They had studied government buildings, military bases, and obvious strategic targets, but they had never grasped the complexity of human urban environments. Cities that had grown organically over centuries contained layers of tunnels, pipes, cables, and forgotten spaces that provided perfect hiding places for resistance fighters. Engineer Dana Clark had spent her career designing communication networks for major corporations. Now she used that expertise to build a planetary resistance communication system using a combination of human technology and salvaged alien components. The network was virtually undetectable because it used infrastructure that the aliens did not know existed. "They keep trying to cut our communications by targeting radio towers and internet servers," Clark explained to her team. "They do not understand that we have backup systems running through water pipes, electrical conduits, and even sewage treatment plants. Every piece of infrastructure in our cities can carry data if you know how to use it properly." The communication network allowed resistance cells around the world to coordinate their activities with unprecedented efficiency. Successful tactics discovered in one city could be implemented globally within hours. Weapons designs developed in hidden laboratories could be shared with manufacturing facilities on every continent simultaneously. By the end of the third month, Commander Vexahai faced a situation that terrified him more than any battlefield defeat. The humans were not just resisting the invasion, they were using it as an opportunity to advance their own technology and military capabilities at an unprecedented rate. Every engagement taught them something new, and they applied those lessons faster than his forces could counter them. The primitive species that had seemed helpless 3 months ago was becoming a genuine threat to the Zephyrian Empire. Worse yet, they showed no signs of slowing down. 6 months after the invasion began, Dr. Alex Turner stood in his expanded laboratory complex, watching human engineers test the first prototype of what they were calling the quantum communicator. The device was built entirely from reverse-engineered, alien technology, but designed according to human engineering principles that prioritized mass production and ease of repair over individual performance. The breakthrough had come from studying captured, Zephyrian communication equipment and discovering that their faster-than-light messaging system was based on quantum entanglement principles that human scientists had theorized for decades. The aliens used expensive rare materials and precision manufacturing methods, but Turner's team had found ways to achieve the same results using common elements and industrial processes. We now have instantaneous communication with resistance cells on every continent, Turner reported to General Lisa Murphy during their daily briefing. More importantly, we can coordinate our activities faster than the aliens can respond to them. Their command structure is designed for fighting enemies that communicate at light speed. They cannot adapt quickly enough to counter tactics that change in real time. The quantum communicator network transformed human resistance from a collection of isolated cells into a single coordinated organism. Battles won in Asia provided tactical intelligence that European fighters used within minutes. Weapons technology developed in North America reached African manufacturing facilities before the aliens even realized what had happened. General Murphy used the new communication system to coordinate the largest human military operation since the invasion began. She called it Operation Payback, and its goal was simple. Every major Zephyrian installation on Earth would be attacked simultaneously using the full range of human hybrid technology that had been developed over the past 6 months. The attack began at exactly midnight, Greenwich Mean Time, with resistance. Fighters emerging from hidden bunkers and tunnel systems in every occupied city. They carried weapons that combined human manufacturing efficiency with alien energy technology. They moved using tactics that mixed traditional human military doctrine with innovations learned from months of guerrilla warfare. Lieutenant Chris Johnson led the assault on the Alien Command Center in Manhattan. His Marines were equipped with hybrid energy rifles that could penetrate any Zephyrian armor and powered armor suits built using alien technology adapted for human physiology. They moved through the city using routes that had been mapped by resistance fighters who knew every hidden passage and forgotten tunnel. The battle for Manhattan was over in 4 hours. Johnson's forces captured the Alien Command Center and took prisoner 36 Zephyrian officers, including the regional commander. More importantly, they seized intact computer systems containing complete intelligence data about alien military capabilities and strategic plans. Similar victories occurred in London, Berlin, Tokyo, Sydney, and dozens of other cities around the world. Human forces that had been hiding in tunnels and ruins for 6 months emerged to reclaim their homes using technology that matched or exceeded alien capabilities. The primitive species that Zephyrians had dismissed as helpless was demonstrating military effectiveness that surpassed their own. Commander Vexahai received reports of the coordinated attacks from his flagship orbiting high above Earth. In a single day, he had lost operational control of every major population center and scene. His ground forces reduced from a conquering army to scattered survivors hiding in fortified positions. The humans had not just resisted his invasion, they had reversed it completely. "Sir, we are detecting new types of aircraft launching from the planet's surface," reported his sensor officer. "The designs combine our technology with human manufacturing methods, but the performance characteristics exceed our own fighters in several categories." Pilot Rachel Kim had been a commercial airline captain before the invasion started. Now she sat in the cockpit of the first human-built hybrid fighter, preparing to test her skills against the aliens who had destroyed her world. The aircraft was a masterpiece of human engineering that combined captured alien technology with design innovations that no Zephyrian engineer had ever considered. The hybrid fighters used alien anti-gravity systems and energy weapons, but they were built using human aircraft design principles that emphasized speed, maneuverability, and pilot survivability. They could perform aerial maneuvers that Zephyrian pilots had never seen and attack from angles that alien defensive systems were not designed to counter. Kim led a squadron of 20 hybrid fighters against the Zephyrian fleet element guarding the approaches to Earth. The battle was unlike anything in the history of aerial combat. Human pilots who had learned to fly by fighting impossible odds faced alien pilots who had never encountered serious resistance. The outcome was determined by 6 months of desperate innovation against centuries of comfortable superiority. The Battle of Tokyo lasted 8 hours and ended with the destruction of 3 Zephyrian cruisers and the capture of 2 more. Human forces had achieved their first major victory in space combat, using technology they had learned to build in hidden factories while their cities burned above their heads. More shocking to the aliens was the realization that humans had been deliberately losing battles for months in order to capture more alien technology. What Vexhai had interpreted as primitive desperation was actually a systematic intelligence-gathering operation designed to acquire complete technical specifications for Zephyrian military equipment. Sergeant Tony Hayes had led dozens of raids against alien positions that were carefully planned to appear like desperate attacks by cornered humans. His teams would fight ferociously to capture specific pieces of equipment, then retreat before the aliens could mount effective counterattacks. Each raid provided more data about Zephyrian technology, and each apparent defeat brought humans closer to achieving technological parity with their invaders. "We let them think they were winning while we learned everything they had to teach us," Hayes explained to his unit while preparing for another mission. "Now we know more about their equipment than most of their own soldiers do. Time to show them what humans can accomplish when we set our minds to a problem." The most devastating blow to Zephyrian morale came when Hayes successfully captured an intact alien command module during a raid on their supply depot outside Denver. The module contained complete technical specifications for every piece of equipment in the Zephyrian arsenal, along with manufacturing instructions and tactical manuals that had never been intended for human eyes. Within hours, the information was transmitted to every human research facility and manufacturing center through the quantum communication network. Human engineers who had spent months trying to reverse engineer alien technology suddenly had access to the original design blueprints and engineering specifications. The technological advantage that had made the Zephyrian invasion possible evaporated overnight. Jake Martinez worked around the clock with his manufacturing teams to adapt alien production techniques for human industrial facilities. They discovered that Zephyrian technology was actually less advanced than it appeared because the aliens had never needed to optimize their designs for efficiency or cost-effectiveness. "They build everything like luxury items," Martinez explained to his production supervisors. "Every component is individually crafted using expensive materials and precision methods. We can mass-produce the same technology using assembly line techniques and common materials. Our version might not last as long, but we can build 100 units in the time it takes them to make one." Human factories that had been converted to weapons production began manufacturing alien technology in quantities that the Zephyrians had never imagined possible. Energy weapons that took weeks to build in alien facilities rolled off human assembly lines every few minutes. Vehicles that were rare and precious to the invaders became common equipment for human resistance fighters. The logistical nightmare facing Commander Vexhai grew worse every day. His fleet was trapped in orbit above a planet that had become more dangerous rather than less so. Human attacks on his supply lines were conducted using weapons and tactics based on his own technology, turned against him. Every engagement cost him irreplaceable equipment while the humans seemed to have unlimited manufacturing capacity. "Sir, the human production capabilities are unprecedented in our military experience," reported his logistics officer. "They are manufacturing military equipment at rates that exceed our entire empire's industrial output. Their technology may be less refined than ours, but they can replace losses faster than we can inflict them." The final humiliation came when human hackers penetrated the Zephyrian fleet communication network using techniques learned from captured computer systems. They began broadcasting surrender demands to individual alien ships, offering safe passage home in exchange for complete technical databases and manufacturing specifications. Some Zephyrian ship commanders were actually considering the offers. They had signed up to conquer primitive worlds, not to fight desperate battles against enemies that grew stronger with each engagement. The easy victory they had been promised had become a grinding war of attrition against opponents who refused to accept defeat and learned from every mistake. Commander Vexhai realized that 1 year after the Zephyrian invasion began, Admiral Kane Roberts stood on the bridge of the first human starship ever built for interplanetary combat. The vessel combined captured alien technology with human engineering innovations in ways that created capabilities neither species had achieved alone. Around him floated the rebuilt Earth Defense Fleet, consisting of 50 warships that had been constructed in hidden orbital facilities, while the aliens occupied the planet below. The time for hiding was over. Operation Liberation would begin at dawn, and every human on Earth would participate in the final battle to reclaim their world. The coordination was possible because of the quantum communication network that now connected every resistance cell, every manufacturing facility, and every military unit in a single real-time command structure. General Lisa Murphy transmitted the final orders from her command center buried deep beneath the ruins of the Pentagon. Human forces in every major city would emerge from their underground strongholds simultaneously and attack every Zephyrian position using the full arsenal of hybrid weapons that had been developed during a year of desperate innovation. Dr. Kate Williams had perfected the frequency disruptor technology that made human weapons effective against alien defenses. Her latest breakthrough was a planetary defense grid that could disable Zephyrian ships from the surface using energy beams powerful enough to penetrate their shields and armor. The grid stations were hidden in locations that the aliens had never discovered during months of searching. "All defense grid stations report ready," Williams announced from her control center. "We can target any ship in Earth orbit and disable it within seconds." The aliens built their shields to deflect energy attacks, but they never considered that someone might attack them using their own shield frequencies against them. Lieutenant Chris Johnson prepared his Marines for what everyone hoped would be the final battle of the invasion. His soldiers were equipped with powered armor that surpassed Zephyrian technology in every measurable category. The armor was built using alien materials and human design principles that prioritized protection, mobility, and firepower over the ceremonial appearance that Zephyrian equipment seemed to emphasize. "Remember what we learned during the past year?" Johnson told his troops while they prepared their assault on the alien stronghold in Times Square. "They are individually superior fighters, but they cannot adapt to changing tactics as quickly as we can. Hit them fast, hit them from unexpected directions, and never give them time to organize a coordinated response." The assault began exactly at sunrise with human forces emerging from tunnel systems that connected every major building in Manhattan. They moved using tactics that combined traditional military doctrine with innovations learned from a year of urban warfare against technologically superior opponents. The aliens had spent months fighting an enemy they could never see clearly, and now they faced that enemy in open combat using weapons that matched their own. Commander Vexhai watched the battle reports from his flagship with the growing realization that his military career was about to end in complete failure. Human forces were not just fighting effectively, they were demonstrating combat capabilities that exceeded Zephyrian standards in multiple categories. The primitive species had used his invasion as an educational opportunity and learned everything they needed to defeat him. "Sir, all ground installations are under simultaneous attack," reported Major Kelvoth from the command center that was rapidly being evacuated. "Human forces are using our own weapons and tactics against us, but they are employing strategies that we have never seen before. They fight like they have been studying our methods for decades instead of months." The truth was that humans had been studying Zephyrian methods for exactly 12 months, and they had learned those lessons better than their teachers. Every battle had been a classroom, and every defeat had provided new insights into alien capabilities. Now they were graduating with a masterclass in advanced warfare, and their final examination would